Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is The Wild You, and today I'm doing a video on how to cook and eat common carp. As you can see behind me, I got a really nice sized carp on the table. I know that's not the most commonly consumed fish in the US, but I'm gonna show you a pretty easy, quick recipe that you can do with these guys, and it turns out pretty good. All right, here's the star of the show. Big, beautiful common carp. I shot this carp spearfishing in a cold water, high altitude lake in New Mexico. She's been bled and gutted and everything like that. Been on ice for a little over 24 hours, but we're gonna get right into filleting her up, and I'm gonna show you how I process them and how you can cook them and kind of get around all those pesky bones that they've got throughout their fillets. All right, for taking this fillet off, I'm just gonna start with a just regular chef's knife. And when you go to fillet these things, fillet it like any other fish you've ever filleted. So just right behind the head, cutting down to the spine right there. Then you take your knife and you run it right along its backbone, feeling for that bone. All the way down to the tail. And then you're just gonna make your cuts. Keep them close to the bone. You can feel them pretty well. They're a big bone, thick fish, and that's another reason I'm using a chef's knife instead of like your classic fillet knives. Just a little bit more backbone to get through that. I will pick up that fillet knife here in a minute to skin the fish, but poke right through the tail, come out there. Now right here, I'm gonna try to just chop through these ribs. Even with a bigger backbone knife, it's still a job to get through these big, thick carp ribs. There we are right there. Finish those last couple cuts. Boom. All right, half the fillet off of that fish right there. Now here you have it. Big, beautiful carp fillet. I'm gonna come in and just, first thing first, just take out these ribs that I just cut through. It's a little bit easier. You can roll off of them while filleting it. I like to do it, you know, from this angle. I have a little bit better luck saving more meat and everything like that. Come right off of there. All right. That's where the shaft went through. All right, this top loin is what we're going to use for this recipe. The rest of the carp, I can do like fish cakes, different things like that. There's a lot of ways to get around the bones, but for this video, I want to do what I do with that top loin. So you're gonna come right here. You can see that center line where you want to make your cut. Then you come right in here with your fillet knife, go right beside the skin, and roll it off just like that. Coming down to the skin, and then that's where the flex really comes in. You go down and roll it out right against the skin. All right, there's your top loin. I'm gonna set this to the side for a minute. I'm gonna bring in my clean cutting board that has less slime on it. All right, got my area sprayed off a little bit, and I've got my loin here on my cutting board. First thing you're gonna wanna do with this is, you can see this discoloration right here. Most of it's kind of this pinky color, and then it gets into this kind of a yellowy, fatty area. You just wanna cut all that fat out. So just take your knife and kind of run it right along there. Roll that fat off of there. You're gonna get a little bit of a muddy taste from that, so just wanna cut it out now. After that, you've got a big, beautiful loin. I'm gonna kind of cut this in half so you can see it. All right, here's what I do with this. This is how I get around the bones. I'm gonna go in right here, and you just cut yourself little thin wafers. You're gonna hear, that's the bones that you're cutting through right there. You end up with this little thin wafer, looks like a piece of sashimi almost. Lay that aside, keep cutting these. Why I'm cutting them so thin is because I'm going to flour these and fry them really hot And during that process, all of those bones are going to break down and disintegrate inside of this meat. So when you bite it, it's just going to be, you know, a crispy little fish chip. It's perfect. You don't taste the bones or anything like that. So you just keep going along, cutting these little wafers out. A lot of people do something similar with suckers and things like that, but they'll leave the skin on the fillet and then come through and just cut to the skin, leaving everything together, so you got like this long piece of fish with little cuts in it. It's the same reason. It's just getting around those Y bones and making it to where you can actually eat the fried fish. So you just want to keep going in here. You can hear those bones cut through, and you're just getting your little fish chips. Don't want to go much thicker than that right there. I don't know if you can see that very well. Little thin wafers. Pile those up right there. And once I get through this whole loin, I'll meet y'all back in the kitchen and we'll get some oil going and throw these in. Alrighty guys, I'm back in the kitchen. As you can see here, I've got oil getting nice and hot. I've got my little carp medallions. This is the breading I'm gonna do. It's a cornmeal, flour, 50-50 mix right there. I'm also, to that, I'm going to add half a teaspoon of baking powder for that amount of breading. Right here, I got a plate, some napkins on it. That's what I'm gonna pull the carp out of when they're done frying and set them on there. I actually don't season my my breading mix. What I do is right when they come out, I hit them with, you know, whatever you like. I'm using Everglades. Salt and pepper is good on them, honestly, but that'll get it a little bit more of a Cajun-y kick and has some nice herbs and stuff in there that's really good. So anyways, I'm gonna set y'all right over here and you can watch me get this going. All right, first things first, I'll throw my little teaspoon of baking powder. Just get that all mixed together. Make sure that baking powder gets spread out throughout the entire mix. What that baking powder is for, that's just gonna make them crisp up just a little bit more even than they naturally would with the cornmeal and flour. So they'll come out of there really nice and crispy. All right, that's pretty good mixed. I'm gonna take a little handful of medallions. My greatest tip for frying fish is don't overcrowd your pot that you're frying in. If you've got a big giant pot, obviously you can throw in a whole bunch of fish, but just don't overcrowd it and everything's gonna be really crispy when you pull it out of there. Just make sure all those separate. Do a couple more for this first little batch. All right, zip that up. Just make sure all of it gets a nice even coating. You can see there, that's what they're gonna look like. Bring you over here, and we're just gonna dump them in. That oil's been getting hot for a while. It's even smoking a little bit, so you definitely know it's there. But if you don't, you just want a pretty violent reaction when you first start putting stuff in there, just like that. All right, we got that first batch in there. Get you a little fork. Make sure nothing's sticking together. They're already crisping up. And you just let them go. They're gonna turn brown. It obviously isn't gonna take long with how thin they are, but you wanna let them go enough that all those bones get cooked out of there. That's the important part, so. All right, as you can see, they've all floated to the surface. And this is what I mean by not overcrowding your pot. See how that, like, every space is filled up. Anything beyond this, all surface area isn't going to be making contact with the oil. So I'll just let these go a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna start pulling them out. All right, I think these are ready. So we're gonna go ahead and scoop them out right onto those paper towels, and that's going to soak up the excess oil. And right after I get these out, the first thing you're gonna wanna do is season them. right there where they're still a little bit moist. That seasoning's really gonna stick to them. Get my Everglades going. I like a lot of seasoning on everything, so just get them a good healthy amount of seasoning on there. That wet oil just grabs that seasoning. All right, get these in the sunlight. Looking pretty good. All right, first round of fish chips done. Beautiful little crispy chip. No bones at all. Totally cooked out of it. Really light fishy flavor, not fishy at all. Just crisp, beautiful, delicious little fish chips, man. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This was one way to cook carp. There's a lot of ways that people do it. This is my favorite. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna catch y'all in the next one.